Hey, and welcome to Represent. I am your host, CrunkChocolate. For those who weren't a part of Shady Gang last summer, the show Represent is me taking advantage of the off season, getting outside of my Manchester City bubble, and talking to supporters of different clubs. No competitions means we aren't in competition. A truce of sorts during Represent. We aren't rivals. We are simply football family. Today's guest represents the Gunners. I bet y'all were
Let's go.
wondering if I'd have an Arsenal guest on, weren't you? Good thing about him is he's also a lover of food and enjoys much more than Arsenal, so he's a solid follow, y'all. Give it up for the Stroofwaffle Savant Shady Gang. Show some love for Byron representing Arsenal. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great, and thanks again for having me on, man. I love that we can kick it as lovers of football and not just so stuck in our clubs. So this is great.
Yes, yeah. That's how I feel about it, at least in the off season. Like right now, I'm wearing a Corinthians shirt, and that's when you will find me not wearing a City shirt. I'll wear other football team shirts because I just enjoy them. You won't see me
Yes,
in like a other Premier League shirt, but you'll see me in like other leagues and stuff like that because I do enjoy football. And yeah,
that's what's up, man. I love it. I love it.
but you yourself, you're an Arsenal fan. Uh, we
Yes.
always start the show off before we get into, the talk about the club. We talk about you and your football fandom. And we call it your football origin story. And we would like to know yours. How did you fall in love with football in general? And then how did you end up choosing Arsenal?
Yeah, so just being here in the US, I think that football, or a lot of us call it soccer, I think it's something that you either grow up in or later on in life you kind of, watch it on TV and you're like, "Oh, what's that about?" and kind of adapt that way. But for me, I played, youth soccer, and just going up the ranks until high school. I was going to play in college, but I decided not to. But honestly, what really got me into soccer or football in general was the World Cup. Like seeing how people that you would live next to would go totally crazy about their team. Like I remember people in my neighborhood, supporting Mexico, and I had another friend that actually his parents are from Germany, so they really, went wild about Germany. And being in that World Cup fervor as a kid made me just want to like learn more and try to support an actual club because, as you know, man, soccer football in the states
Yeah.
it's come a long way, but
Yes.
we weren't really cooking like
No.
they were in Europe
No.
or elsewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I started from me. The World Cup, that fervor, that energy. I
Hmm.
wanted to be a part of that.
No, that's nice. Okay, so then you decided to pick a team. I mean, right, there's German, there's Spain, there's England. So I guess how did you end up in England? And how'd you end up with Arsenal?
Yeah, so I was watching European football one day. It was man, it was probably I was a kid, so it was probably the early 2000s, and I still remember to this day Nike had a commercial with Thierry Henry where basically he's like dribbling through a house and all of these defenders are trying to catch him.
Yeah.
And Dennis Bergkamp, he made an appearance there as well, and I was like, who is this dude? Like his footy skills are sick. Let me learn more about him. So I was just, happened to be it was funny. I was happened to be just watching ESPN one day, and like one thing I will say, and I'll get into it, is the kids now are so spoiled with how much football they can watch because back in the day, like if you didn't have a satellite, you're basically bound to just what ESPN wanted to throw up when, American football wasn't on.
Yeah.
So I was watching and I happened to see that week that, this team called Arsenal, who was coached by Arsene Wenger. And as a kid at the time, I was like, they named the club after after the coach. Like what is this about? But no, like watching him play. Of course, watching Bergkamp play. And others, I was just like, yeah, this is going to be my team because I had a friend that really liked Chelsea, and I always saw him in like that blue kit, and I hated it. Second part of me, I was just being a hater,
Yes.
but the first part was I really liked Henri. Really liked what he did on the pitch, and I was like, yeah, let me support that team.
It is amazing the amount of people who choose clubs, not like specifically, but also like the secondary or the final straw is also that hate that like I don't like that,
Yes.
so I'm gonna go over here. And that was exactly mine with City. I just grew up in America. United was kind of crammed in your face, and I didn't really enjoy that.
All in your face, all the time.
And
United, United, United,
yeah,
Chelsea. Yeah,
in 2001, I was playing FIFA at a friend's house, cousin's house, something like that. And I was
yeah.
scrolling through the leagues, and I bounced on to Premier League, the second division, and I saw
Yes,
Man
sir.
City, and I was like, Man City in the second division? Wait. I didn't even know there was another team. It was sky blue. That's my favorite color, and so I
Yeah,
was kind of just all in on that squad ever since.
that's fantastic, man. I mean, especially with the sky blue because in the 2000s, like that UNC look was everywhere,
Mm,
and so Man City fits right into that light blue schema. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. Sharpie is a UNC fan, and so that's what he said. He was like, "I'm a UNC fan," and so once I saw that sky blue, that also helped. It's an easy transition. I can wear like a UNC thing and get away with it technically. So it's nice. And it is. It's well, especially when you find like a comfortability in as many things that you
Yes,
can when choosing a club.
yes,
Um,
I totally agree with that, man.
I guess what other clubs like US professional clubs are you fan of?
Well, so I live in Atlanta, so I'm definitely a big Atlanta FC supporter.
Okay.
Um, I'm also trying to pick a team within the NWSL. I really like the Washington Spirit. I saw a Houston Dash game, also Gotham FC. So I'm kind of like dancing around right now to decide who I want to support. Oh, how could I forget about the Thorns? They cook like every
Yeah, they're
match.
fantastic. Yeah.
Um, they're fantastic. So in the U.S., definitely Atlanta United. In the lower division, I really like the Birmingham Legion. I think they play some fun football. And honestly, I would love, and it would never happen because there's so much money involved. But I would love for a relegation style system to come
Hmm.
here because we don't hear about these smaller clubs, and I think that some smaller clubs could really do well with some sort of promotion opportunity because if you're always going to be in the lower league, I don't think that's exactly fair. And vice versa, if you're just going to be terrible in the upper division, what's your incentive to get better? There really
Exactly.
is none. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see that system happen here as well.
Yeah, no, we definitely want it. And yeah, because it's like if you start a business in, the US, uh, well, if you start a business there and your team does get successful and you start doing well, like you can't move up to the MLS. What do? You just sell the rights to that team and then buy an MLS team and just name it the same thing and try to bring as many players with them as possible? Like, what do you
Right.
do? Like, how does that work? That's the closest. It's just like buying in and hoping that your city's popping enough that the MLS will let you build a stadium there.
Exactly. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There needs to be some sort of incentive to change that.
Like, yeah, no, it's rough. It's rough. Um, yeah, okay. Well, we can move on to Arsenal. Okay,
Yeah.
first off, how do you feel about Arsenal AFTV, Arsenal Fan TV?
So my opinion about AFTV is honestly, man, like, and a lot of Arsenal supporters will say this. I think they're toxic in the sense that they take something and they'll completely run with a narrative
Hmm.
and then get everyone else all like hopped up on that narrative. And it's just a lot of anger. And when Arsenal does perform well, it's kind of like, okay, well, we're more baseline. we're not really going to drum up, exactly what they did well and things of that nature. But man, when it's bad, it's bad. I mean, I really think that the way Arsene Wenger left, I don't agree with that whatsoever, and I
Hmm.
feel like AFTV was a big driving factor behind that,
Yeah.
because and how it should happen in a club is, especially someone of with that stature, is you basically just bring in, like we have in the US, like a coach in waiting, something like that, where you just hire them on your staff and give you a year or two, and then you go ahead and retire or something of that nature. But man, the vitriol that was hurled at so many
Yeah, they didn't
people,
deserve that.
people that actually, professionals, well, most professionals, they want to win. They want to win more than we do. And this idea that there was just like this attitude that players didn't care and et cetera, blah blah. I'm just like, no, they wear it more than we do. So yeah, I just think that sometimes it's hilarious, but a lot of the times it's just vitriol for no reason.
Yeah, not gonna lie. After we beat y'all, I did
Yeah,
run to Arsenal fan television. I wanted
yeah,
I wanted to chuckle.
the meltdown, right?
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be crazy. And it's funny too because I don't really listen to too much of that stuff. Like the only things I listen to are interviews from players and managers and stuff like that. I try not to even listen to too many other podcasts unless they're not city. Like I listen to other teams and just general sports podcasts, but
hmm
I don't know. I guess I also
I
stole that from Lil Wayne. That's what he doesn't really like listen to anybody because his idea is if you listen to too many of those other people, what are your thoughts, especially when it comes to city, is yours and concepts and ideas and stuff like that. So I don't want to
yeah,
be sorry.
no, you're fine. No, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, you know you're good.
no, I'm in total agreement with that, because you can't have an independent thought if you're basically listening to these things, because at the end of the day, their thoughts will merge as your thoughts. It's just natural if you hear it enough. But I'm kind of with that angle where I don't listen to a ton of people. Of course, I listen to y'all and a few others, but I really like channels like Football Made Simple. Basically, they break down the tactics, and you can actually see it from kind of a higher level of football, because football is chess. It's
Hmm.
not just kicking the ball around. You're breaking people down. You're building your own triangles. You're trying to impose your will, things of that nature. So I like more tactics than like people yelling at each other. And especially the thing that gets me is the people that can't walk to their fridge without being like totally tired, and they're yelling at like people that are in shape and really pushing it and living themselves on the field. I'm like, bro, you can't even walk to the fridge without getting tired. I don't want to hear from you. So
No, I completely feel, and it's also, I mean, I played rugby, and so
yeah,
that was
okay,
my introduction to just how what they call it in America, alternative sports.
yeah, for sure,
And so I
yeah,
always loved rugby and soccer and was intrigued with cricket and racing, like F1 and all that stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, it was very tough to watch, like Fox Soccer Plus and Sports NBC Sports Gold and all those other like
yes,
awful iterations of football on
yeah.
satellite and cable and phones.
Oh, it was horrible.
It was bad. It was tough. It was long. It was, but also I was used with rugby. I watched the Super League, and so to watch those games, that's in South Africa and New Zealand and Australia. So that's like 2, 3 in the morning. So
Yeah,
transitioning to the Premier League was just easy because I was like, oh, I can get sleep. Like I don't have to even like stay up or like wake up because I had people who
yeah,
in my group chats who would, if I woke up, I knew what the score was, and so just wasn't a point of watching the match then. So football, it was
absolutely.
easier to transition. I love the community. I'm still relatively new to the city community,
Yeah,
which is I think is real fun with everything. And I think that what helps us with everything because there's not like certain ways that we think. or even like
Yeah.
try not to post like similar other city accounts, but also I wouldn't know how to. And yeah, I mean, other than like simple things like contract extensions and stuff like that, but for the most part, we just try to keep
Right.
it light and silly and fun. And honestly, I'm looking for podcast beef to take our podcast to the next level next season. Like I'm being so ridiculous. I call
You want
myself,
all the smoke.
yeah,
You
I
want
call
all the
myself a
smoke.
heel. So it's just like we need a beef. And so I think I'm gonna jokingly
Yes.
call out another city pod and see if I can start a beef and see what we can do. But we've
Yes.
gotten so far away from Arsenal, and I apologize.
No, we're
Um,
good. We're
let's get
good.
to the beginning of the season that just ended, and let's talk about the transfer season that y'all had because we helped you out over at City. Y'all brought in a couple of our people. You paid the prices for them, so I do appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But you made a few moves, and you've been doing it for the last couple of years, trying to solidify our Arteta's squad. Would
Yeah. Yeah.
who were I guess were some key departures and people you brought in from our last season?
Yeah. Let me talk about the I guess the key additions, and of course I can't start anywhere without bringing up Zenny. Like Zinchenko totally revolutionized our side because last year, and the year before, you saw what Arteta was trying to do, and basically with the tilted or inverted midfield, he really wanted to try to exploit that area, but he just didn't have the right person. So I really feel like Zenny is like our inverted midfield 1.0, right? We'll start to build different iterations off of it, but without him and being able to push up in the midfield so we can have that 5-person advantage, this season would have been a disaster because
Mm,
I think Kieran Tierney is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but he just doesn't fit our system, and he'll eventually go on to Newcastle or elsewhere and do really well. But Zenny has just been amazing, and he's so calm on the ball. He's really taken that leadership role, even though he's not our captain. You always see like even if we concede or even if we score, he's always in the middle of things,
mm.
directing people and inspiring people. So I really love that. And let me touch on the other city person that we bought from y'all, Gabriel Jesus. I mean, I really think that if Jesus's knee didn't go out in the World Cup, I think we definitely could have pushed a little bit more. But I really like what he does because honestly, I didn't watch a ton of City games last year, but what Jesus does, he's not the tallest guy,
Mm.
but he holds up the ball. Like he'll it's the hunger that he has. I don't know if it's because he's Brazilian or what, but he has this hunger that he wants to get to the ball. If you're 6'3", he doesn't care. He's gonna try to,
Yeah.
jump
Yeah,
over
no, he's
you.
a scrapper, dude. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a scrapper.
yeah, yeah. He
Um,
he grew up in those that tough part, and you could definitely
that
can
Favela, like,
see it in his play, and he's a little fiery. Same thing with Zinni. Like they brought a good fire to your squad. Yeah, I like that.
yeah. Yeah, and I really like that. Of course, I want to touch on some American internationals that we brought in. I really love that we brought in Matt Turner. I think he's going to be a quality backup. And honestly, once we have more games, I'm not saying that he'll take Ramsdale's spot because Ramsdale's in great form, but I really think that he can push him a little bit because there were some times during our season that no matter how great Ramsdale was, I really feel like he had some lapses in concentration where we conceded when we shouldn't have. And yeah, I mean, if we go back to when Saliba got injured, there's going to be this argument that Saliba got injured, that's why we conceded, blah blah blah. I'm not trying to hear all that.
Hmm.
There are there are times when there were some easy stops that could have been made that Ramsdale just wasn't in the right position, and we conceded when we shouldn't have. But I'm really excited for Matt Turner. I'm really excited for him to get on the international stage even more, especially with all of the cups that we'll be challenging for next year. I think it's time for him to get a good run. And there was low key another pickup that we had last year that came over with Matt Turner, which is Austin Trusty. From we got him from the Colorado Rapids, I believe. And Cronky, he owns the Rapids, so that was just like an easy transition.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, let's just bring him over. Um, but I think that he's going to be actually a really quality contributor because he does play center back, but he has the speed and the agility and the flexibility to play on the outside, kind of similar to Ben White. So a lot of people aren't talking about him. They're talking about like, yeah, we need to go and buy more so we can have a suitable backup to Saliba. But I really feel like bringing on Austin Trusty last year, having him go out on loan to, I think he's at Birmingham City, have him go out to Birmingham City and then have him come back as an Arsenal player, I think that's a win-win for everybody. So I would really like to see him get into the team and see exactly what he can do. And I really like how American football has really, it's kind of accelerated. It's gotten a lot better. We have the quality there, and I really like that we're helping get American football out on the stage through Arsenal. So those are the four that I want to focus on. We did have some departures. Bird Leno, he went to Fulham, and honestly, it was just unlucky. We play out of the back now, and Burn couldn't really adjust to that. So we decided to let him go, especially with his wages. And I mean,
Hmm.
he can challenge to be the starting goalkeeper over in Germany, so it doesn't make sense to have him on the bench. So yeah, I think that we had some good quality signings last year, but I'm really looking for us to improve on that this summer.
We love Zinchenko here. And so him going, we knew he was going to go.
Yeah,
When it was
yeah,
said that he was going to Arsenal, I would have much rather he had went to Newcastle, but it is what it
right,
is. And I
right.
understand the whole like Turner to challenge Ramsdale because I mean we have that right now with Ortega as our backup to
Hmm.
Ederson, and Ortega he was able to win the FA Cup for us. He played the
Yeah,
entire cup competition.
he was immense. He was immense.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. He only allowed the one goal, which was a penalty, the entire
Hmm.
competition. In all of the matches that he started outside of the FA Cup, he only allowed one goal, and I think that was the last match of the season. So he is a shot stopper completely. He doesn't have
Yeah, yeah.
the distribution skills that Ederson has, and Ederson has the amazing distribution skills and isn't the shot stopper that Ortega is. So it's really nice that they have each other to challenge each other and have each other grow in those departments and even each other out and also, steel against steel. It's great to see.
It is. And to talk about, I just want to briefly talk about the spring, the signings in January. Trossard, man, like
Oh,
that
he's a
was
stud.
such a good pickup.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And I like that Arteta put him in the false nine and we could still play out the back and do what we needed to do. And I'm really looking at him to push Martinelli and show Martinelli how to play on that left wing because Martinelli is great, don't get me wrong. He's definitely not in his prime, he's still growing, but the little things that Trossard does, where he'll look up and you're like, it's just a split moment, and he's sending the ball in, and it's a perfect ball. Little things like that, I think Martinelli can work on, and especially the foot speed too, the quickness, the 1-2. I think that he can really improve upon that, and I'm hoping that Trossard will help him out in that regard. Also, a lot of Gooners were like really pissed about this, but Jorginho,
Okay.
when we had him come over, people were like, "What are we doing? We need to spend, 120 million to get Caseta. Like, you guys aren't being serious. Edu, let's fire Edu." AFTV stuff right there. But we needed that in the squad, and it sucks that Casado didn't work out, but we needed that in the squad because we're such a young squad. We're the youngest squad now since Southampton has been relegated. So we need that. We need that like veteran presence, and
Mhm.
I feel like he provides that calm that we need. And I'm looking forward to him being more integrated in the team, being a reliable backup if we need it, and just going forward from there because I really think he was a great signing. A lot of people at the beginning were just like, "Oh, we're being cheap," but you need that mix of young and veteran players. You just need that. You can't just have youth everywhere. This is we're not playing FIFA 23, right? This is real life.
Yeah,
We need that calmness, especially in the midfield. We can't just give the ball away all day.
yeah.
So I like those signings. I like what we did in January.
Well, and Pep picked up Akanji for 17 million pounds,
Yes.
and he's been ahead of set. And I mean, he's
Yeah.
like 28 or something like that. So, but
Yeah.
he's older, but he's
Veteran.
not. Yeah, but he came in and he knows what to do. He knew what to do. He understood. I mean, he ended up being significantly better for City than any of us could have anticipated, and so that was
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, so coming into the season, I'm sure expectations were already high, but nobody could have expected second place. Or
Right.
did you? What were your expectations leading into the season?
Oh no, not at all. With the club, how it was. Um, Honestly, I expected a top four finish. A lot of pundits didn't think that. They thought we'd be like sixth or seventh, which was crazy. Like I don't know how they could have decided that, especially when we added Jesus and we added Zinchenko. We pretty much showed that we're serious. We brought Saliba back from League One, and we're like, no, you're staying here. You're
Mhm.
going to be our starting center back. Like we made some really serious moves. And plus Saka, I haven't even talked about Saka, but Saka has been
Yeah, he's
so
great. Yeah,
reliable.
he's great.
Yeah, he's just quality. So no, to answer your question, I thought top four. Never in my wildest dreams did I think number two. And when we lost towards the end of the season, or we kept dropping points, I was really frustrated. But after the season ended and I had time to think, I was like, this was a good season. We lost in a title race to an historically good Man City team. Like y'all were putting up numbers that like have never been seen in the Premier League. And to even be in that conversation, it shows that we're really serious about competing. Um, and it's crazy to say this, but I forgot what show it's called, but basically it's the Champions League after show with Micah Richards, um, Thierry Henry,
Yeah,
and dude from Liverpool. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Carragher.
Yeah, Carragher. Yeah, and they're in the conversation. None of them were talking about Arsenal challenging for the title again next year, and I just don't see that drop off from them, especially because we have that youth. And the great thing about youth is you don't know any better. You're going to run yourself into the ground because you don't know any better. But secondly, we're adding those veteran components to our squad, and I think that's going to help us into the future. So no, I wanted to say this, and before I forget to say this, I'm going to say this. Hats off to Man City. Like y'all did your thing this year, but
Hmm.
we came too. And I hope a lot of rival teams, especially Man United fans that I hear from, like my buddies are huge Man United fans that I hear from. They don't think that this was just a 1 year fluke because honestly, all the pundits in the beginning, they saw Man City challenging, they saw Chelsea challenging, they saw Liverpool challenging, and Man United challenging, and I'm like, where are they now? They can't even touch us right now. So I'm not even trying to hear all that.
So I mean, what I will say is, I don't see a drop off from you guys, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to still have the success. I mean, y'all had a lot of late match drama, and
Yeah, we
that,
did. Yeah.
and so putting up, you won't win those every single time, but I think your wins that you will have will look much better. And also, like City, especially once we started getting into our thing, we made like the Champions League, and then we made it to the round of 16, and then I think we made it to the semifinals, oddly enough, and then we had like this huge hiccup, and then we got knocked out
Mm-hmm.
again. So like, especially when you start spreading it out, I guess we'll see what you guys do to solidify your squad. because uh,
Absolutely.
we'll get to it later with what you think is going to happen in this off season. But I think you have some players are leaving, like Shaka and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
it will be interesting to see what you guys do in the off season because uh, Liverpool, Matt Callister has already been announced by Fabrizio, so
Hmm.
Liverpool's already at it. So it'll be interesting to see what teams do because I know City's not going to do anything until they're done playing football, at least I would expect. So
Yeah,
there's
there won't be moves yet.
these losers like Liverpool who have stood no chance. Chelsea, who've been at it forever ago, they get to just have to plan for months because they're just so trash. There's no reason to be focusing on the current season. Little lucky
Exactly.
little problems those goofballs get to have. Okay,
Exactly.
so looking back on the season, what would you say is the best win and worst loss of the season for you?
Oh, that's tough. Um, Let me think. I think I was gonna say Chelsea because I have that Chelsea rivalry that I don't like them. Um,
Yeah, it's me with
but
Liverpool.
I'm gonna start with it's not a loss, but it felt like one.
Mm.
I think the worst game for me and other Arsenal supporters was the Southampton game at home where we drew 3-3. And why I'm chalking that up as a loss, even though it's a draw, is we let Theo Walcott score against us. Theo Walcott, who hasn't scored since I don't know when, but it's been a long time. We let him come to our house and score against us. And we basically played down the Southampton's level, which when we drew that game, I told my buddies, I was like, we're not going to win the league because our standards have slipped. You have to be ruthless against relegated or about to be relegated teams. There's just no excuse for your home not to be a fortress. So for me, that was just the worst. That like took all the air out. I was like, Southampton? We're really struggling with Southampton. So that was pretty painful. Um, Trying to think. Oh, I think my favorite game because it was one of those games that was kind of late drama. Was the Arsenal Man United game in January when we won 3-2. Because that game was just a fun game. I mean, both sides, United fans and Arsenal fans, I think back and forth. It was just a really fun game to watch. But we ended up winning and coming out with the 3 points, and it was just a fun game to watch. My United friends were just talking all week, and it was great to silence them for a little bit anyway.
And I mean, I understand with being annoyed with Southampton because they knocked us out of the Carabao Cup and
Yeah,
Gineppo scored on us. That was his literal only goal for Southampton the entire
I'm
season.
saying.
And Mara, that he only scored two for Southampton all season. It's just like, who are these people, and why does City always seem to give up worldies?
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have that it's so difficult to break us down that you truly have to be like in God mode basically to
Right.
score on us. And it's a brilliant thing to have, but just as a fan watching those goals happening, it's incredibly frustrating because it looks like there's nothing we can do, even though we are this like giant team, and it's so frustrating. Ah.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. And I just thought of another game that I think is a tie with the Man United game. Was when we went to Newcastle and we won 2-0 because
Mhm.
that's a hostile environment.
Yeah, and they were
I don't
talking a
know
lot of
if
shit.
oh they were talking so much shit, and it was like a college football game. It was like so hostile, and then we silenced the crowd and it was fantastic. And um like they weren't only talking shit, but the pundits, oh my gosh, they're like, no way Arsenal can go and do that. They're not a serious club. They're not going to be able to do this. And it was fun to win that game as well. But Man United slightly tops that for me, but it's up there.
Hmm. Okay. Well, looking back at the season, then, especially because you can look at it positively now, who would you
Yeah.
say is the club's MVP?
Oh, it's gonna be. It has. So okay, I will. Let me preface it with this: people have raised their level this year.
Yeah,
Odegaard
yeah.
absolutely cooking this year, which was great to see. Shaka was like all over the pitch. I'm like, man, are you a number 8 now? Because you're like always up in the box trying to score. I'll be sad to see him go, but I mean, he was immense. Um, I really liked what Ben White did as well. Having the shift to right back and always being up there to press and charge forward to get those dangerous crosses in, that was fantastic. But again, my number one MVP, the most important player in my opinion, is Saka. And that is why we need to have more depth in that position because towards the end of the year, my man was
Yeah,
gassed.
he's tired.
He had no legs, and that's the thing when you're young is you don't know how to pace yourself, and so he's just going dead sprint, dead sprint, dead sprint, and so by the end of the season, it was like I don't know if you saw the interview, but Kobe was talking about when he first got to the NBA and how in high school they would play like 25, 30 games. But in the NBA, it's like 80 to 90 games. And so he was like, my shot was horrible because I had no legs. When I shot and my jumper didn't go in, I had no lift off. So he was like, training the next summer, I was like, I got to get my legs under me. And so I did strength training and things of that nature. So applying that to Saka, we need to get man some help. He's gonna start his new training regimen as well, but we got to get him some help because he can't play like 30 plus games. It's just ridiculous. That's too much of an ask for a person. But he's definitely our most important player, like hands down.
Okay, and just let's stick with Saka and overall the growth that the team has made. A lot of teams let y'all play. That's not happening next season.
Oh
So
no, not at all.
how are you feeling, I guess, about that? And the idea,
Yeah.
do you think because you said Marnelli really kind of needs to learn how to do his 1-2s, and that's really what you're going
Mhm.
to need to kind of break these teams down. Gabby, he's actually fantastic at that stuff, so he'd
He
be
really
great.
is.
And Saka's amazing on just breaking individuals down and making them look silly. So, I mean, from an outside looking in, I know you have the fundamentals, the people in position to succeed in that. But how are you personally, as someone who was in, overall feeling about the idea of teams just putting all 11 people, if they have to, behind the goal?
Yeah, we're gonna see those low blocks again, and we struggled against that because, to be quite frank, Arteta didn't really know how to break those down because he would try to invert, and when the inversion didn't work, it was like, oh, what do we do now? Shit, what do we do? So basically, we just have to go back to the drawing board and really deep dive into tactics because we need a plan B. If the inversion isn't working, then let's try something else. Maybe we do a long ball, maybe we try to just factor in counterattacks or something of that nature. We just need to change our tactics. And I'm glad you brought up Martinelli because I think next year it's Martinelli's time, man. Like I think that left side is really going to be cooking because Zinchenko is getting settled over there now. Gabby always looks to Martinelli during the hold up play. I really think that side is really going to start to take off. And that's why it's even more important who we sign in the midfield coming up next year because that left side needs to be locked down because Shaka occupied a lot of that and he's leaving. So I really think if we can build off of that left side and really start to send things Martinelli's way, I think we'll be fine. The most important thing is not to be one dimensional because, like you said, there were times during the season when there were 3 people on Saka, and no one was looking to make the extra pass or the extra run to flip the field. So that's something that we have to change. And I really think that Arteta will look at that and get that fixed because I always have to remember he's a young manager too.
Yeah,
Everyone is learning at the squad. We're not even near the peak, so we just have to learn, grow, and adapt. And that's all we can ask.
yeah, very true. So I'm going to ask a pretty silly question. Uh, Looking back on the season, would you say that uh, Arsenal has overperformed, underperformed, or met expectations?
Oh, I think we definitely overperformed.
Yeah.
And I think that with overperformance, it's good and it's bad, right? You're good because all the fans and supporters are like, oh, we're actually pretty decent. But it's bad for two reasons because other teams will adjust, as you've mentioned. They're
Mhm.
like, no, we're not going to let them cook. And the second reason is now we have to figure out a way to stay at that level. Like there can't be any backsliding to like fifth or sixth. And we have more cup competitions now, so we definitely have to grow the squad and adapt to this new level. I know in the Amazon documentary, Arteta said that he wanted to get to top four. This season was basically this season to get back into the Champions League. We did that, but now we have to maintain it because there's no backsliding now. We just have to keep rising and being able to compete for trophies.
Okay, so this isn't in here, but I just want it to be spicy real quick.
Let's
So,
be spicy.
so
Let's
you,
go.
you said, you're in the four. There were a couple teams who, Liverpool, Chelsea, they were out of the top four. And if you're in it and we're in it and Newcastle is in it, like, how do you see the top four looking next season? Do you think like Chelsea and Liverpool are going to be able to figure it out? Are they going to be in there? Or do you think Brighton and Brentford and these new school kids are here to stay? Because I mean, that's kind of what I think that's what I'm leaning to next year. That's going to be my line of shit talking towards the clubs is
Yeah.
when anytime a United, well, not you guys because you guys are back, but like United, Chelsea, and Liverpool, I'm just gonna say you guys are old news. We got new people to be worried about. Like I'm not even gonna like talk to you guys. Like just leave me alone.
Yeah, no. So two things. I have to get this out before I forget as well. Um, Tottenham, terrible. I'm not even considering
I
them
didn't
in
even
like the
say
top
them.
six.
I
You
didn't
didn't
even
even say
I
them.
didn't even say them.
Terrible, terrible, absolute trash. I just wanted to say that because I can't come on here without saying that to my Arsenal supporters that watch this. They're trash. Shit. Um, but no, I before you even asked me that question, I was already thinking that some of the new kids are going to climb up. I
Mhm.
see Brighton hovering around 4 and 5. I can't say that they'll be a solid lock in for four, just because I don't feel like they have the squad depth yet. Um, so I think they'll be battling up there, but I don't know if they'll quite make it in there. Um, and I'm not convinced by Chelsea yet. I know Bowley has been buying a lot and things of that nature, but I don't see I don't see the purpose or the method behind the madness, as they say in Hamlet's Shakespeare. Like I just see a bunch of wealth, but I don't even see like anything cohesive yet. So
Mhm.
I can't even say they'll be in the top four. I think they'll be hovering around 5 or 6 as well. But I do see Liverpool kind of getting their stuff together because I can't count Klopp out for that long. Like I really feel like they had a down season this year. But with their new additions, I really feel like they'll figure it out. Like you can't really say that Liverpool will be like crap forever.
Yeah.
Um, and Man United, as much as I talk shit about them, they have a quality manager. So they could climb into that top four discussion, but I'm gonna go with us, you guys, Liverpool, and I'm not gonna hold down the top four because the rest of the clubs are pretty unserious, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like
No,
I
that's
don't.
solid. No, that's solid. No, that's
I
solid.
don't. I'm serious.
They're
Like
just
I
gonna
can't.
eat
Like
each other. Yeah,
they're
they're
gonna
just
eat
gonna,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
That 4, 5, and 6 is just gonna be a battle, and I can't figure out who is gonna be in the fourth slot. I just can't.
Mm, mm.
Oh, I will say this. I think Newcastle will squeeze in the top four. I will say that.
Yeah.
I think that there will be this fight for 4, 5, and 6, but I feel like Newcastle will squeeze there because they have all that financial backing. They have a really good manager in Howe. I really do think that they'll squeeze into that conversation. defense is stout. They just need to work on their offense.
Yeah, and they made a bunch of money, I would believe, in kit sales and selling out their stadiums and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
they'll actually be able to spend this summer. So,
yeah,
all right, well, we've talked about the season that just passed. Let's get to now, the present. And Arteta, I would assume, he, so I naturally love and respect Arteta. He came from us, but I'm not gonna
absolutely.
lie. I knew he was gonna be a sneaky snake and he was gonna do this. And everyone was
Slytherin.
like, and everyone was like, no, he's gonna stay. He'll hang out with us. And I was just like, no. Pep is
Nah.
literally giving him all the sauce, and he's gonna
Yeah,
leave us. And he did that, and he even has his own little the way that he has your players receive the ball, which is
yeah,
uh, honestly, it's brilliant. So especially for players like Saka, who wants to run at the players, it gets them catching the ball in stride, which is
yeah.
it's a really cool adjustment to Pep's style that he's done. But what's your thoughts and feelings on Arteta?
Um, First of all, I think he's the right person for the job. Um, but as he evolves in his managerial career, he has to learn how to be flexible. Like I look at Pep, for instance, and how he has implemented this new system of basically using John Stones or his center backs to push forward, and they actually become this like hybrid midfield center back position. Sometimes you'll see them on the right
Mhm.
or the left wing. Um, Pep is good because he evolves and he has evolved. And I think that Arteta needs to learn how to evolve um, in his career because when the inverted midfield doesn't work, he kind of freezes, and then the players on the pitch freeze, and then they'll pass it back, and then the trap is coming, and the press is coming, and they'll give up the ball in the press, and then and then they give up a goal and things of that nature. But just learn to adapt. That's all. We just have to learn to adapt, and you know, maybe you switch to a 4-4-2 sometimes. Maybe you bring back a defensive midfielder to support the center backs, especially if they're getting cooked like Rob Holden was. Like AFTV and other places went in on Rob Holding.
Yeah,
But bro, realize this. Rob Holding does not have those facilities.
yeah, he
He
shouldn't be
does not
doing
have
that.
those.
He
He
shouldn't be.
can't.
They shouldn't have been put him in
He's
that
not
situation in the
Saliba.
first place. Yeah.
Nah, he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. And if you're gonna have him out there, you better have a defensive midfielder like right in front of him that
Hmm.
can just stop that shit because you can't allow people to get cooked just because they're not equipped to work like that. You have to adapt. So my biggest takeaway with Arteta is, bro, you got to adapt. That's all.
Yeah, and it's gonna come with time because
That's it.
yeah, Pep is who he was, and it's crazy that Pep came to us and everyone was just like, no, Pep knows what he's doing, but we had lost to Tottenham, Lyon, Chelsea, Real Madrid. We hadn't won the FA Cup since 2019. It's been a while
Yeah,
since the Carabao Cup. Like
yeah,
there were things that I think Pep wasn't sure about or was like testing, and he had to learn the hard way in a lot of small ways. And I think this year has come from it where he's just like he's done taking chances, even if that
right,
means a player is going to sit for a whole month. And
right.
he has been able to, I guess, that's the benefit of also working with players for 3+ seasons because when you have new people coming in, they know what the vibes are, and also
Right.
they're just so talented enough that you really can't argue until you get to those positions. And there's just like a method to the madness, and Pep just knows how and what to say. He he's able to get his like surliness off, but still make journalists laugh now. Like he really
Yeah.
is in his groove now. And
He really is. Mans was on Ted Lasso.
yeah,
Mans was doing
yes,
cameos on Ted Lasso,
yeah,
bro.
that
It's
is
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy. I haven't watched it. And that is all I will say about Ted Lasso. I
Yeah,
know to
yeah.
stay away from that show if you don't have good thoughts on it. Any
Yeah.
specific position? Okay, so who? And you don't even need specific people, but where are some like key positions, some upgrades that you would like to see this summer from Arsenal?
Yeah, so I would like to see upgrades actually in the attacking position. So I really do think like don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to slay any player and I personally love Eddie Nketiah. I love his work rate. I think he's a good kid off the pitch as well,
But
but we need more quality. We need more quality. We need someone that will basically challenge Gabby up top, especially when we go and play Champions League football. Um, we need like a tall forward that can head the ball in. Like we need that physical presence. And I'm not saying we need someone like Holland. Like I don't think we need something quite like that. But we just need someone that's a little bit more physical in the box. So when we do swing the ball in on a corner, he can just catch a head to it. Although I will say, Jesus Gabby, he's been able to head balls in from the corner, which is crazy.
yeah,
He'll out jump big dudes.
yeah,
It's that hunger. But I would like to see us strengthen there, and of course, the other places I'd like us to strengthen is center back and the midfield. I really do think that we need quality in the midfield. We need people to make those charging runs. Like I always look at Bernardo Silva, and I'm like, bro is always up the pitch.
yeah,
We need that. We
yeah,
need someone that's up the pitch all the
hmm
time, like an extra striker. Like,
yeah.
and you never know where he's coming from. Like,
No.
you'll turn around and Silva's right there, and you're like, how the hell did he get up here? Why is he not marked? Like, we need that. Odegaard is trying to become that, and I think he's on his way, but still, we need that coming out of the midfield, not just in the attacking midfield portion.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, we just need to solidify our midfield a little bit also. We don't know if Gundo's staying right now. It's
Hey, give us
Fabrizio.
Gundo though. Give us
Fabrizio
Gundo.
said he's very close to signing and staying.
I
Still
could
looks
see
like
that.
it's
Yeah.
only going to be 1 year, even though he said he wants to do two. But it still looks like City might get their way and only do one. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really care what it is as long as they just sign him. And I want Bernardo to
Right.
stay also. Laporte, he wants to go. I understand he wants to go because he isn't playing constantly, and I
He's not
understand
playing
that.
well. I
I
mean, not playing well, but he's not playing much.
Yeah, and so I understand that. And then Bernardo, he just wants the sun, and I understand that. I completely understand that. But he is so important to our squad. I just can't see him leaving. And if he does leave, he they're paying 80 mil. Like there's no
Yeah.
discount for him. He
Yeah.
is fantastic. He's amazing, and you will pay him as such. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be crazy once this transfer actually starts opening up and all the teams start moving.
Yeah, and just on transfer news, real quick, and
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of people that are linking us to Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever, but I don't really get caught up in transfer news because, like you're saying, teams are still playing. Like, we'll actually see what is what probably mid-July, maybe even August, and there's really no reason for. I'm just saying this out to like everyone, all the supporters from all the clubs, like, don't get so swept up in transfer news this summer. Like, go out and touch grass because a lot of stuff that you hear, it's not even going to happen. So there's no reason to get upset about anything right now. So just take your time and enjoy life before August.
Declan Rice and Casado though, that's some big money being spent. Like if you guys bring those players in, do you really see another substantial player coming in that can help your team? Because that's
I
100 mil, that's 120 mil for those players.
Yeah, I think if we bring those two in, we will bring in some other players as kind of like projects, like maybe like a 17 to 20-year old kid
Mm,
that's like from some obscure club. Like
yeah.
I can see that, but I don't see three marquee signings. I see. So this is what I'm thinking about. So we're either going to do two big ones and then maybe a couple smaller ones, or we're going to do one big one and a bunch of smaller ones. Like have Declan or Moises be kind of a centerpiece, and then get other people that can supplement what we already have.
Mm.
Because like if we bring Moises, like you're saying, if we bring Moises and Declan, that's a lot of money. And we're not going to want to have like three or four marquee signings. We'll do two and then smaller ones, or one and like a handful of smaller ones. That's kind of how I envision it. And from what I know as an Arsenal supporter, that's what I've seen. I haven't really seen like these huge splash signings, like what would happen with Todd Bowley's Chelsea.
Yeah,
Like that's just madness.
yeah. All right. Well, let's just say Arsenal pick up the positions that you would like to see picked up and the people that you might want to see leave. So you are at your peak happy with the squad. What are your expectations for this upcoming season?
So my expectations are a trophy of some sort, whether that comes, in the Premier League, FA Cup, elsewhere. We need a trophy. Two would be great. One would be okay, but we need some sort of hardware to say, "Hey, you guys have accomplished something this year." Because no one wants to just be in this. Even though I'm grateful to be back in the Champions League, I'm not even gonna slate that like it's not an accomplishment. But we don't want this perpetual cycle of just being happy to be in the top four. We want to challenge for titles and we want to win titles as well. So success for me is challenging in the Premier League for sure, and winning a title or a trophy or two in either the Premier League or another league.
Hello? You play to win the game. You
Yes.
don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
Facts.
So I feel you. I feel you. Trust me.
Facts.
Well, I am all out of questions, so this is now your chance to, I guess, if there was anything I missed about Arsenal, anything you needed to get off your chest, or anything you wanted to say, now's your time.
Yeah, no, again, man, thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, of course.
I love the fact that we're both from the Quad Cities, Davenport, Iowa.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we're
crazy.
both like out here, repping European soccer and European football and just quality football. And again, thanks for having me on. And I'm looking forward to next season because I think not only Arsenal being back, elevated again is great for football, but I like the other teams that are emerging. I like the
Yeah.
Brightons. I like the Brentfords. I like Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle back in the day, they were like legit, and it's good to see them, rise to the top again. And I think all of this competition is great for football, and it's great to watch other clubs fall because I'm kind of a hater, so I love it.
I love that. I loved it. Uh, well, thanks again. Oh, one more thing. Let people know where to find you. Plug yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, y'all can follow me on Twitter at Beast, so at BYST. I don't just tweet about football, of course. I'm always tweeting about street waffles. Netherlands, that's like my second love right there. I try to go back as much as I can. Um, and I'm always posting food too. I love to cook, so yeah, follow me on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm at BYSTFOTO, so Beast Photo. Yeah, holla at me. This will be fun.
Hey. Well, Shady Gang, give it up for guests. Yeah. Thank you again for being a guest on here. And stay in touch, stranger. Uh, you know the vibes. Shady Gang, Shady Gang, Shady Gang.